Hey, this is Aaron.
And this is Kristin.
This is the Drive Mode Show.
And before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe. Click
Yep.
that little button down there.
Bloop. Click. We'll wait.
Done.
We'll wait for you. Go ahead and do it. And then the little bell. Sweet.
Ding. Okay.
So today we're going to bring a new update for the Rebelle Rally. Kristin, of course, is a participant, and she will be driving a Hyundai Santa Cruz alongside our good friend Jill Simonillo. We've talked about this before. There's a couple of other shows that we've already done. I'll link to those down below. This is kind of an update because they just finished another round of training and we are getting super close. It's only like a couple of weeks, right? 2, 3
I
weeks.
know. It starts October 8th officially.
October 8th. So about a month from the recording time here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kristin,
Yes.
what's the latest? What happened? You guys just did a training. What went
We
on?
did. So this last training was in Ridgecrest, California, which is northeast of LA. So Jill and I flew to LA and we got to spend the whole day with Hyundai engineer Eric Buxton. And he worked with us to make sure that we knew where all the equipment was. We practiced taking the tire off the new rack that they put over the bed because it's 70 pounds and Jill and I are not super big people. But we practiced pulling down the tire, jacking up the Santa Cruz, and then changing out the tire and putting it back and all that stuff. So we had to make sure we had all the right tools. And then the next 4 days were dedicated to off-roading training and navigation training. And then I wasn't feeling 100% by the end of the day with the engineer. And I said, Jill, I think I'm done for the day. I'm super tired. I think I'm jet lagged. I just gotten back from Monterey. But I took a shower and I took a COVID test at the same time just to see. And sure enough, it was positive. The first time I've had COVID. And I came out of the shower and I showed the test to Jill. I said, I have very bad news. So Jill had to train without me while I stayed in the room and recovered. So that was not ideal.
That's a big bummer. I've had COVID 3 times. So.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, so did you get back to the training or did it finish before you were done quarantine?
I was still quarantining. So the next 2 days I stayed in bed and I was really tired, and you know how COVID goes. But Jill texted me and she brought me medicine and stuff like that. So I completely missed that part. But by the third day of training, they were doing classroom navigation, and Jill set up a Zoom so that I could follow along from the hotel room. So I had my own map and my own plotter, and I kind of just followed along while we practiced our navigation skills. Because there's no phones.
Right.
They disabled the GPS on our Santa Cruz, and we are completely paper maps and plotters and compasses.
Yeah, that's kind of the crux of the entire race is that it's not a speed race. It is
right.
a navigation challenge.
Yeah, and they don't call it a race at all. They just call it a competition.
They shy away from that term.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, so the real challenge in Rebelle is not how fast can you do this. It's how accurate can you be getting all of the points you have to get in that one day and in
right.
So that's right. Yeah, so the navigation training has got to be the bulk of it. So couple of detail questions. Is the jack that you're using to lift, so I've actually had this confusion before where I told somebody I have to jack your car up to change this out. And they went nuts because they thought by jack I meant I was going to screw it up, not
you're going to jack up your car.
Right. The jack that you're using, is it the standard like screw jack that comes with it, or is this a more like specialized, better, what is it?
Well, we had tried out, Eric, the engineer, had a hydraulic jack, but it didn't go high enough, especially with the 1-inch lift kit that they put on the Santa Cruz. So we used the standard jack It's all manual. We use that one and it works fine.
Okay. I just wonder because I know that it's back and forth. Some people on a race they prefer a hydraulic jack when they're out in the field, but I've noticed in Baja style racing, so this is sandy off-road racing, they actually don't tend to carry those. And I asked somebody once, and they said, "Well, it's hard to store it because if you get too much dirt on it, it will stop functioning, like it gets stuck."
Yeah,
And
true.
so teams have ways around that. Sometimes it's in a dry bag. Sometimes they store it like upside down with something on top of it. There's all kinds of little things, but they're actually less common. The screw style jacks are the most common, but they use these giant heavy duty ones that are quick. So the I forget what it's called, but the thread spread, the spread of the threads is wider, so that each turn lifts it more. But yeah, it's interesting. I just wonder because I was thinking about that. And then the other question was, um, I watched a video where Jill was trying to set up the tent you guys will be using, and it was hilarious.
Hilarious.
She basically went into it just like I would have, which is where she like pulled out the bag and looks at it and was like, "Well, this can't be that hard." Pulls it out and starts setting it up, and then realizes, "Okay, maybe I should have read the instructions." Trying to put it back together, and it's like watching somebody the first time they try to fold a fitted sheet. So,
It's
are
true.
you looking forward to the camping portion where you have to sleep with the rig overnight?
Well, so when we did training back in April, we had a 2-person tent, and we found quickly that that was not big enough for us and our gear. So Jill picked out, well, we picked a 6-person tent, which has plenty of room, and we wanted a pop-up tent. And so we're like, how hard could this be, right? Like in the description, it's hysterical because it tells you basically you can just pull it out of the bag and throw it up in the air and it just lands like a tent. I'm like, that's sounds too easy, and it is, but it's not too much harder than that. Like you don't have to take out the tent poles and string them all through, and that's where it really gets complicated and time consuming. So the trickiest part that that in the video that's so funny is when she's trying to put it back together because
Right.
it's one of those frames where you have to kind of twist it and then fold it over, and you almost need 4 arms to do it.
It's similar to for people that don't know. This is like think of the windshield covers that you get and you fold them out and you stick them in the windshield of your car. It's a tent version of that. So it's all that spring kind of steel in there. Then you have to fold it, maneuver it to fold it back up, and it's really fun to watch her. And it reminded me of back in the day in my late 20s and early 30s. I was a dungeon master for a second edition D&D campaign, and I had this NPC. He was a gnome, and he was an inventor, and his greatest invention that he made the most money with was a self-erecting tent that he sold to the military. And it was a tent that would be carried by 2 different soldiers in 2 pieces. They put the pieces together and then hit a thing, and the whole thing pops up and is ready. And the problem with the tent, which wasn't an issue for the military apparently, was that it took 10 people to take it back down.
That is not ideal. No, that wouldn't work for us.
Watching her do that, I was like, if there was one other person, at least somebody just to put their foot on something to hold it down while she does this, it would have been way easier.
It's really, really funny. And I want to give credit to our 2, besides Hyundai being our major sponsor for the entry fee and the travel and the training and the vehicle, we also have Bose and we have She Buys Travel, and both of them gave us funds so that we could buy gear because there's a lot of gear you need. I mean, from max tracks to the tent, sleeping bag, sleeping pad. I mean, it's all stuff that we didn't just have laying around.
Right. It's funny though, because I was thinking about it as I was watching that video and then watching as you guys were updating on social media during the training. I was just imagining how many times the word watermelon got said in the middle of something.
Well, we have to explain like watermelon is our safe word. So if Jill or I are being cranky and like being difficult or challenging, we'll say, "Hey, watermelon," you know, like because just like family,
Right.
you're gonna get snappy with each other, and you have to be prepared to be snappy, but also making sure that we're hydrated, that we have snacks nearby because I mean I'm a snacker, and if I don't get food, I'm gonna be real cranky. So she knows we need to have lots of food for me.
You gotta keep the hanger at bay.
Right. Yes. Keep the animal under control. Now, I don't know, we've mentioned this before, I think too, but we named our Santa Cruz Sandy
Okay.
because she is the champion on the sand, and I'm really looking forward to taking her back to the dunes. It's a little more challenging for us to do any kind of rock climbing and stuff like that. Santa Cruz isn't made for that,
Right.
right? But it's more capable, I think, than people give it credit for. Plus, we can use our max tracks and boards and other tools, or we can build a rock bridge. I mean, it sounds like nothing I'd ever done before in my life. You can build a rock bridge and actually get over obstacles with it.
So what's coming up now? You have basically about 4 weeks to when the Rebelle starts. What do you have going on between there? Is there another training, or was this it? And then what are you guys doing just to get yourselves ready for the upcoming?
We have a group of competitors that we met in our first training on a text thread, and we call each other the plotty hotties. So we're plotting and we're asking questions together and trying to figure stuff out. So it's great to have that support,
Mhm.
two other teams, and we know we'll support each other there. And we're also practicing our navigation. That's really key. And then, we both have some other events coming up. I've turned down several events this month just because I can't fit all of that in, plus getting ready for the Rebelle Rally. And my family needs me too.
Mhm.
I turned down a trip to Montana, to Japan, but I need time to make sure that I'm practicing and that I'm prepared. I don't want to go into this without feeling like I'm doing my best.
Okay. So I guess the next update will be race day. We're pretty close to it.
Pretty close to it. Yeah.
We're getting there. So
Yeah.
we'll try to, just for anybody who's been following this, we'll try to do some sort of update shortly before the Rebelle actually starts, just to give you an idea of where we're at, maybe where these two ladies are in terms of their setup and what they're planning and how they're conditioned or whatever. I don't know what terms to use, but they're and
Prepared, I guess.
we'll try to get some sort of photos or footage of the Hyundai itself, just to give you an idea what's going on. And then during the race, the only thing you'll have, and we'll link to it, will be the live stream, because we won't have access to footage. They can't film. It's electronics off. So
Yep, yep, yeah. And you know, they're very careful to not call it a race
right.
because, well, several reasons. I mean, insurance, but as well, like we're not really going for speed, but the speed is controlled. In some places, we have what's called an enduro time and distance, and we have to go, like 5 kilometers at 30 miles an hour, or 30 kilometers per hour.
You're having to make a map point, an A to B map point inside of it. The closer to the exact amount of time, the better, right? Is that what
Right.
you're talking about?
Well, they give us there's two different sections. We've got the road book section, the enduro part, where they tell you exactly where to go and how long. And then they also have the parts where we're collecting checkpoints. And those are the ones that we're going to be mapping out at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Gonna need caffeine for that.
Yes. So looking forward to it. It's going to be. I really want to. I'm really excited for you guys to see where how this works out. I know last year, I think it was last year or year before, when we followed Nicole and We were
Alice.
watching that, yeah, Nicole and Alice, and we were watching them and talking to them before and after, and how different they talked about it before they did it and then after they were done with it. It was really cool. So yeah, that's kind of where we're headed. So
Yep, we'll keep you posted.
bring you guys an update 2 or 3 weeks here already. This is
We
Aaron.
will. This is Kristin.
And this is Drive Mode Show.